what state are we going to incorporate in, and where do we live, and how do we hire people? And, you spend a lot of time on Google trying to figure out all those things and trying to do the right thing all the time and not, screw it up too badly.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Brian Orr, aka DJ Twist, and you are listening to the Twist Life podcast. Today, my guest is Shandee Chernow. Shandee founded a company, a tech startup called CertiStar, and she's going to talk to us today about her technology and whatever else we happen to land on. So, hey, Shandee, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? Holding up okay in quarantine?
Yeah, I was going to ask, where are you quarantined today?
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've worked from home for eons, so it's nothing new over here.
Okay, so your life hasn't, aside from the outside world, your day-to-day life hasn't taken on much of a change?
No, it's funny though. I'm kind of an introvert by nature, and I work from home, but all of a sudden being forced to do it, I'm a little grumpy about it. All of a sudden I want to be outside and, leaving the house all the time, but I'm not.
So tell me a little bit about this CertiStar.
Sure. So I have food allergies, and basically in 2017, I kind of got tired of trying not to die every time I went out to eat. I was selling software, and you end up going out all the time, traveling and breakfast and lunch and dinner and drinks and cocktails. And oftentimes it's with people that you're trying to sell to. So it puts you into this kind of funny position of trying to minimize your burden on the conversation while you're out with a customer. And I got tired of doing that, right? And I figured there must be a better way that we could make it easier for restaurants to serve guests with food allergies. So basically what we do is we provide individualized menus. So regardless of what someone's allergies are, and mine are offbeat, I've got peanuts, tree nuts, and shellfish, which are totally normal. And then pork, which everybody goes, oh my God, I didn't know you could be allergic to pork.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
You and everybody else. But so it makes that, a challenge for restaurants to feed me. And so what we do is you put in whatever your allergies are, any combination, any number, doesn't matter. And we give you back the restaurant's menu, stoplight style, green, yellow, red. So green is safe, or the lawyers make us say allergen friendly. Yellow is allergen friendly with modifications. So you could make the burger, but in a clean pan, so it doesn't get cross-contaminated with the bacon or the shrimp, something like that, or leave off the sauce or whatever. And then red is unsafe. We can't fix that. There's nothing we can do to make, I can't ever have, shrimp cocktail. It's just not going to happen.
How many restaurants are you currently working with?
Yeah, so there's restaurants currently in, I think, 7 states, and then there's a major national brand that is, pre-coronavirus was just about to, finish rolling out so that we could use their name, but we're not quite there yet. So,
okay.
But they've got about 300 restaurants between all of their facilities.
Talk to me a little bit about the business of creating a software. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you, besides the idea and the motivation to create the software, I'm sure a lot of people have said, man, I wish I could do something about this, but not too many are going to develop a technology. So can you talk to me a little bit about how this all started?
Yeah, I've got kind of a strange background, I guess, to go randomly start a business, which is pretty much what happened. We had the idea. An investor was like, sure, that's a great idea. Next day I quit my job, which is a little bit more rash than I would necessarily suggest anyone else doing, but it's the twisted life, right? So we'll roll.
Yeah, that's right.
So my background, my degree is math and computer science, and I started my career designing software, which is a great fit for this. And it was in an area called business intelligence. There's an entire bingo card of buzzwords that we can use to describe that area of software. Big data or data querying or whatever. But it turns out that food allergies in a restaurant menu are really just a big data problem. And so I had this background of designing software to solve big data problems. And there you go. That's exactly what it is that we do. Running a software company is entirely different than designing good software. And I generally had no idea what I was doing, and I still don't. And I learn new things every single day. And there's so many things that, you had no idea that you would have to deal with. I'm HR and IT and finance and, kind of all these extra pieces that we're not big enough yet to have. That's not entirely true. I get help from my teammates who also have no expertise in any of those areas, but together we get through it.
Tell me a little bit about that realization from being somebody who does this for a living, for example, like you're developing software, and now you want to create the business of developing software. Like you just said, there's a major leap between like executing and implementing something and then creating a business around that thing. Can you talk to me about some of the hurdles aside from just wearing like 80 hats? Like, can you give me like one or two direct examples?
Sure. I mean, the first question was to lawyers, right? So given that the plan was to sell to food service restaurants, the first phone call that we made was to a law firm who specializes in defending food service in lawsuits, right? So we figured that way we're all on the same team and they could help us figure out, is this a good thing for food service? Yes. Is there anybody else doing what it is that we wanted to do? How do we trademark our name and our logo and come up with a good name and kind of all of those things? Freedom to operate and patent applications and, all this stuff. And what happens is you're talking to them and they're like, and have you thought of this? And I'm like, no, do I need to think about that? Right? So that's kind of one piece of it, right? And then the next kind of biggest, strangest hurdle is, who do I need? What are the functions of a company that you kind of can't live without even when you're tiny? Lawyers are a great example, accountants are another example, taxes, and there's all this like paperwork around what state are we going to incorporate in and where do we live and how do we hire people? And, you spend a lot of time on Google trying to figure out all of those things and trying to do the right thing all the time and not, screw it up too badly.
Have you discovered any sort of roadmap that would be like, this is the perfect resource that says, these are the 10 things in order? Because I haven't in any of my businesses. I have
wished for that 1,000 times. Whoever's listening who wants to start that business, please.
Seriously.
Someone do that, because it is so hard and there's so many people out there doing all of these exact same things that you and I are talking about, and everybody's doing it on their own and nobody has any idea.
Yeah, that would be right. So that's something somebody needs to package and sell for sure. Because that's one thing I always hunt when I, from my DJ business, it's one whole thing. For my real estate business, it's another whole thing. For this podcast thing and for my restaurant, like everything's, but like, you would think that it's the same procedure all the time. I mean, it is a core as far as creating a business goes, but it's unique to each. Yeah, it's unique to each industry. For sure. So you mentioned your trademarking and that sort of thing. Talk to me about your brand identity. Where did you come up with the name, and what type of research did you do to say that, did you come up with the name let me do this. Did you come up with the name first and then research it, or did you research it and then come up with the name?
Yes. I don't know exactly what happened, but, I was Googling like Latin words or, other language words for safety and security, because that's really what we wanted to get across. And it turns out that Certus, C-E-R-T-U-S, is Latin for to be sure, which seemed to kind of fit, right? But there were a bunch of other companies that had that name. And so we actually started out with a focus on education. We wanted to like educate and certify, and we were going to give them stars, like 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars. And so the Certus plus the like star, I guess you could take the certification piece too, but that's where it originally came from. And that's why there's little stars in our logo and stuff like that.
Have you since pivoted? Apparently, are you giving people stars, or did you?
No stars.
So you started down that course, and tell me what the twist was there. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like we wanted to give everybody 3 stars, right? And like somehow 1 star wasn't like an accomplishment, even though it's in theory better than no stars, right? I don't know. It didn't ever feel good to give anybody anything besides like 0 or 3. And you don't want to make anybody mad. You don't want to give them 0. You just want to, we wanted to move more towards encouraging and improvement and progress over perfection.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea of ratings and such, but I feel I like the idea that it can be used as a tool from somebody who's from a user standpoint, but I certainly wouldn't want to be the judge on that. Like, that sounds like what you're saying. Like, you didn't want to be the one to say you're 3 and you're 0, and this is what we're deeming you. So you will now be, succumb to our choice and people's view on you, right? Like the judge, jury, and executioner.
Once we pivoted to a software focus, not an education focus, it didn't really even make sense anymore. So now it's more like a light switch. Either you use our software or you don't. It fits more in with the 3 stars.
So that was the key, right? Okay, so from the education into the software, and then the stars, even though you were uncomfortable doing it, just became null and void at that point anyway.
Exactly. It's not like you can kind of half use the software, right? Either we're giving the answers to your food allergic guests or we're not. And so, everybody who uses us is 3 stars.
Cool. So let's go a little bit more into the user experience.
Sure.
I personally feel like I know I have allergies. They've never been as severe as some of my family members who have allergies. Mine is more in like skin conditions and that sort of thing, which is, I just love food, and I've never gotten tested. I've never gone that route. So for me personally, while I have a bit of an understanding of it, I don't have quite the experience.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there already.
Okay, start there.
So allergies are like a light switch, right? Either you're allergic to stuff or you're not. And any given reaction can be more severe or less severe than any other reaction. But if you've had reactions to something in the past, then the possibility of having a more severe reaction next time is definite. It's certainly there. So you don't want to minimize, any kind of past reactions, because it's not indicative of what might happen going forward. And just because somebody's had a severe reaction to something in the past doesn't necessarily mean that the next time they're going to have as severe or the same reaction next time. So I always want to say, don't minimize whatever it is that you're allergic to, because you always want to be cautious, right? I always suggest anyone who's had a reaction, always carry epinephrine with them, just because out of an abundance of caution, right? There's no harm in carrying it around, and it certainly could save your life. And if you never use it, what a great problem to have, right?
Yeah, really. Let me ask you then, so what type of signals might somebody who doesn't think or know or have ever had an experience that they're specifically allergic to something, what type of signals might they be looking for like in the early stages of reaction or something?
Yeah, so epinephrine can present in a lot of ways. You're looking for epinephrine. Anaphylaxis is the word I was looking for there. Epinephrine presents in 2 ways, the EpiPen and the Aubi-Q. But sorry about that. The anaphylaxis can present in really 2 ways. Either one major system, so you can't breathe, or you go into shock, your blood pressure drops, or something along those lines. So a life-threatening single system failure. Or 2 more minor systems. So you're having hives and a runny nose, or vomiting and watery eyes, or something like that. Those are just, random examples, but really any 2 minor systems or 1 major system is what's indicative of anaphylaxis. Now, keep in mind, all the listeners, I'm not a doctor. I'm supposed to say that every time I start into anaphylaxis stuff. But since we talked about
every time, right?
They look like, these are just trainers. That one's upside down. So this is, EpiPen. There's generic versions and the branded version, and then this is what's called an Aubi-Q. People didn't like carrying these, and so they invented these. I think they look a little bit like a pack of mints, but they also talk. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
This trainer contains no needle or drug. To inject, place black end against outer thigh.
You can't see my outer thigh.
Firmly and hold in place for 5 seconds. 5, 4.
Pretend that's my outer thigh.
2, 1.
But it's nice because it talks through it for you. So it really teaches you how to do it. And then at the end it says, call 911, because anytime you're injecting epinephrine, it's a medical emergency.
you mentioned you have this weird like pork allergy. That's not very common.
Correct.
So if somebody goes into a restaurant and they have a pork allergy, I'm assuming that since like I wouldn't know as a waiter, a server, or kitchen staff or something, how do I treat this person with this pork allergy? Is this where the software comes in?
That's exactly right. So right now, what happens if you're not in a CertiStar restaurant, there's a big, long conversation that happens. It involves the customer, obviously, and then some combination of server, manager, and chef, right? In whatever order that happens. In our internal studies, we've found that that conversation takes between 8 and 12 minutes, which is a huge issue, right? A lot of table turns, especially in more casual restaurants, are somewhere in like the 35-minute range. And so when you add 8 to 12 minutes to that, you know, you're really lengthening the guest experience, and you're losing money as a restaurant because you're not able to turn your tables as quickly. And 10.4% of people are food allergic. So think about that, right? 1 in 10 on the floor of a restaurant's allergic. And so you're really having this conversation significantly more frequently than you should. And so what happens is you use CertiStar instead. So the guest says, I have an allergy. Either you bring over the software on a tablet, or the server can go to the back. We don't care, right? However, or it can be on the website, or logistically, it doesn't make any difference to us. But it takes about 30 seconds. You put in the allergies, hit search, and you get back the exact same menu. But like I mentioned, green, yellow, red. And that way, nobody is having to remember or figure it out in the middle of a busy service. And really, no one person in most restaurants knows every single ingredient that goes into everything, and all of the ingredients of anything that was purchased, right? What's in that Worcestershire sauce, or what's in that barbecue sauce, or whatever, what's in that spice rub. And so we're centralizing all of that information and automating it so that nobody has to be the one who's responsible for figuring out what that person can have. So it's significantly faster, it's more accurate, and the guest gets all their options. Usually that 8 to 12-minute conversation ends in like, oh, well, you could have option A or option B. And the person's like, but what if I didn't want those things, right? I wanted that. But you can't be both the allergy kind of pain in the neck, if you will, and the picky guy. You feel too much burden when that happens. And so we try to eliminate all that stress on all the parties involved.
I have 2 questions coming out of that. First, what about it sounds to me like it's very inefficient, not only in a time standpoint, but in a communication standpoint, like the telephone game. You tell the waiter tells the manager communicates to the chef, they have to look back at the email. By the time you get back, you were originally allergic to peanuts, and they bring you back something that's like, because they thought you're allergic to shellfish, right? Like it gets completely lost in communication.
Somebody doesn't know that like dairy includes butter, or, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So that seems like a pretty high danger and a risk that people take. Are you seeing that statistically people with food allergies are not going out to eat because of these dangers?
Yeah, the statistics show that about 25% of that 10.4% never eat outside their home. So if you think about it, there's 32 million people who are food allergic in this country. And that's not even all, you know, counting all the intolerances as well, right? That adds about another.
And people that don't get tested like me.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you've had a reaction, you're allergic to something.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, 8 million people at a minimum who aren't going out to eat because of this issue. So think about the revenue that, I mean, right now in coronavirus time, it's an entirely different conversation, but in normal time, think about the revenue that the food industry is missing there.
That's the first thing that I was thinking about, like the increased revenue by allowing the population to feel safer in their opportunities to order. And you know, a place that, like, okay, let's say for example, a place that sounds traditionally non-allergen friendly, I guess, right? Maybe like a seafood restaurant, things that I can only think of, the ones like seafood or peanuts or something. So like a Thai restaurant or a seafood restaurant. Do they normally have more than those 2 options? Are you finding that, or are you finding places that you're completely eliminating, saying that there's no possible way that anyone with allergies can go to this restaurant?
There's almost always more options. Almost to a person, when we run a search for whoever it is, including the restaurant, they're shocked at how many things come up as, you know, green or yellow. What happens is when you share your allergies with someone, they really focus on what you cannot have. They don't it's hard to think of that in the reverse, right? Let's think about all the things that don't have any of these things. Brains just don't really work like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, you don't go say, find me all the Legos that aren't red. All of a sudden, all you can see is red Legos.
Right.
That's how brains work. So it's much, much, much more available, the menu, than people really think that it is. It's just hard to figure out for a human brain. That's all. If I can go back to the revenue thing real quick.
Yeah, sure.
You know, the people who aren't going out to eat is one set of missed revenue. But the other piece is that people with food allergies have a tendency to order something super simple. Oh, I'll just have a side of rice. Oh, I'll just have a baked potato. Can I just get like a plain chicken breast, you know, in a pan? They're staying away from the more sophisticated and therefore more profitable and costly items on the menu. So when we can open up those options to them, all of a sudden we take customers who are less profitable and make them more profitable. And they can order in multiple categories too. You never get an appetizer and an entree and a dessert because nobody wants to have that 8 to 12-minute conversation 3 times. Right? So all of a sudden you've got all of your options and people get really excited about that and end up spending more money.
So from a restaurant owner standpoint, your technology is giving them the opportunity to have more customers in the restaurant with shorter turnaround times and higher cost or revenue per meal.
Yeah.
And the liability. So that's a good question then. Does your legal protection then cover the restaurant if they order through your software or something like that?
If our software makes a mistake. But, you know, if they say this, we're using, you know, these 5 ingredients and then they use these 10 ingredients and we don't know, no, you know, we don't take that. But if we, you know, if we make a mistake, then certainly, you know, our insurance company, our policies are talking about that. Yeah.
How much work is involved in getting a restaurant from a restaurant owner's perspective? Hey, this sounds like a good idea, but man, it sounds like a lot.
Sure. No, I mean, we're asking for a lot of detail, right? We need to know basically everything that you buy from your suppliers. And sometimes you get Hunt's ketchup and sometimes you get Heinz. Tell us both. We want to know what's in all of your recipes. If you tell us your menu structure, that makes showing your customers easier, right? So it's a lot of detail. It doesn't take all that long from an implementation perspective. What takes longer is gathering all of that. But if you really think about it, it's not any more information than you're giving, you know, a new chef that you hire. It's just a matter of collecting it all into one place rather than kind of being more on the job training.
How much does it cost a restaurant to have you?
Yeah, so it's a monthly fee and it depends on the length of the contract. But you can go as low as $83 a month per location. And that just depends on who's doing the work and who's not. And of course, you know, with volume comes conversation around pricing.
Right. So how do you scale this business? What's next?
More restaurants, more cruise lines, more hotel chains. You know, I really like to see us significantly more ubiquitous and be able to answer the question of, all right, who in my town is using CertiStar for everyone in the country?
What about the infrastructure then on scale from working from home? You're still fairly new. And how long has this CertiStar been
2.5 years.
active? 2.5 years. So fairly new, but you've got some time under your belt. Are you ready to catapult into, you know, the next 700 locations in a work from home type of infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, at some point we'd probably, you know, start to put together an office largely on the implementation and customer support team piece. The nice thing about what we do is that the software really works very, very well. So we don't see a whole lot of pressure coming in on customer support from a technical perspective. It's more supporting the restaurants and the other food establishments for getting their menus up and running and any changes that they're making. But you know, that's not a particularly difficult job to fill, right? There's a lot of people out there who have that skill set, and you know, we're able to flex and expand it. You know, I would love to have that problem. I would love to catapult so quickly that I can't hire fast enough. That would be awesome. So all of you restaurant people out there listening, we've established it's a no-brainer. Come be on board, challenge my infrastructure, bring it on.
How does somebody with food allergies present maybe like I have allergies, but there's nobody that has CertiStar here in Charlotte, or maybe there are, but I'm just spitballing here. How can I get you involved in my favorite restaurant?
Yeah, there's actually a form on our website that you can download and take in with you if you want, and say, hey, I'd really love it if you'd go look at this piece of software. So that's right on our website. I think it's under our blog. I can send you the link, later after this, or just pass along our name or send it to us, and we'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
chat.
Okay. Let's jump into this segment right now that I usually do towards the end of the show. It's called Rapid Fire, and it's just a bunch of quick question, quick answers. Just have a little bit of fun. Here we go. What is your favorite social media platform?
Facebook. I'm old.
What would the title of your autobiography be?
Beautiful disaster.
Name the best Jell-O flavor.
Lemon.
I've never gotten that one. Okay.
Every candy, anything. I always go after the yellow one.
Lemon? Okay, cool. What is your version of there are two types of people in this world?
Introverts and extroverts.
If you had a time machine, where would you go first?
You've stumped me on this one. There's so many places. There's too many options. I think I would go back to like Renaissance England. They had great clothes.
Okay. Would you rather make your bank account public or your internet search history public?
Bank account.
Do you think some people are just born lucky, or do we make our own luck?
I think there's an odd combination of both in there. I don't think anyone's born lucky, but I do think there's luck, and I think we influence our own luck a lot.
What actor would play you in a movie about your life?
People have told me that I look like Juliana Margulies. So that's what's coming to mind.
Say it again, Juliana?
Margulies.
I'm not sure who that is. I'll have to look it up.
I used to have really curly hair, and so
Okay.
people always, help me with her.
Okay. What's your favorite type of muffin?
My favorite type of what?
Muffin.
Oh, blueberry.
Obviously.
Throw some lemon on it. I don't know.
How many third graders can you take in a fight?
Like one. Those guys are tough.
What is your absolute number one biggest pet peeve?
Oh, when people chew with their mouth open. Ooh. It's the worst.
Okay. Give advice to your teenage self in 2 words.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. Okay. Last question. If you had the whole world's attention for 10 seconds, what would you do or say?
Ooh. I would remind everyone to be kind.
Nice. Awesome. Rapid fire. Shandee Chernow. That
Those
was
are
fun.
hard. Rapid fire is difficult, challenging.
It really is. That's the fun. I actually contemplated doing that in the beginning of the show to kind of like loosen everything up a little bit, because I do just ask like stupid questions just for the goof.
Are they always the same questions?
No. I have.
Steady.
There's some that they repeat. There's only so many questions that I can come up with, but I think I've recorded now something like 30 shows. So I certainly don't have 500 unique questions. So some of them do get repeated, and when it does, that's.
You should ask if they're wearing pants.
I know that's got to be the new thing, but I asked you before the show, and I already know that you're wearing pants. My intern was not wearing pants today. Oh no, he was wearing pants today.
He was wearing pants.
In his interview today, he told me he was wearing pants. I assumed if anyone was, he wouldn't be. It's funny. Okay, tell me your website, tell me your social, tell me where people can find you if they have questions about food allergies, even though you are not a doctor. Where can people find you?
Sure, you can reach out with any questions that you'd like. Everywhere on social, and our website is just CertiStar, CertiStar. So CertiStar.com or at CertiStar on any of the social media platforms. Also, our phone number is 833-EAT-SAFE.
Nice. I like what you did with all that. thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I know some people very
Anytime.
specifically that are going to be very interested in learning more about this software. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
all right, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.